nutrition, lifestyle, and PED education. This is the Elite Strength Podcast with Aaron Scoffey.
All right, guys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Elite Strength Podcast here with the man Kuba, all the way from England. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. Thank you. And I hope you're well, bud. Looking forward to this.
I am. Well, I'm glad to have you on. It's been a bit of back and forth trying to get you on, being a busy man with all your clients and killing it over there in England and even across Europe, right? With all the comps you're able to still go to.
Yeah, so it's just literally last week was the last comp with some of my natural athletes. So now it's pretty much downtime. Back in the day, it used to be, the competitive season used to be 6 months. Now it's more like 11 months. So, you know, we don't get that much downtime now. So it's pretty much very intense year round these days. So.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. How did the season sort of work out for yourself and your clients, or your clients?
Awesome,
I guess.
Mate. Awesome. Yeah. Very, very good season, to be honest. Had a couple actually get a pro status, so that was pretty cool. Cool. Had a few people competing the Arnold's at Pro Division as well. Yep. So plenty of pro shows, plenty of amateur shows, plenty of results. So definitely happy. Definitely a big year for me as a coach, for sure. As I pretty much back-to-back weekends, I had like 25 athletes cross show. So I had 25 athletes at Graftism, and then I think it was like 26 at Arnold's at the same day when I was competing as well. Well, same weekend as I was competing. So it was pretty mental, but definitely satisfying and definitely something that I'm looking forward to repeating again next year.
For sure. And don't, I guess, take away from yourself, you competed this year as well, right?
Yeah.
And did pretty well for your first show in, was it a couple of years now from memory?
Yeah, so last year I did my pro debut, but it wasn't really, it was all right. You know, I brought a decent package, but this year I would have probably said it was more of a pro package, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah.
So definitely happier. Again, a few bumps on the road in prep, but nevertheless, we'll move on, learn from it and bring a better package next time. So
and I guess
I'll be taking time off now and returning back on stage in 2023.
Yeah. And I was going to say, how did that go with competing as well as coaching? Because I know the seasons are pretty close. So the comps are pretty close to where I guess you were prepping yourself, or it's not prepping yourself, but going through prep and then having to also coach and try and keep a clear, steady mind when it comes to, you know, dieting fatigue and dieting brain, I guess.
Yeah. So I've pretty much done it for the past 3 years. Every time I compete, I always had quite a number of clients compete. So the first time it was actually last year in Spain when I did my pro debut. I had 16 clients compete that weekend whilst I was competing, and 10 of them was actually with me doing the same show. Yeah. So for me, it's something I'm used to, and in prep, it sends me the other way. Other people kind of get to a point where they're like, they can't work, can't do this, can't do that. I'm actually the opposite. I'm a lot more productive in prep because, one, I sleep much less, so I'm working a lot more. Yep. And two, I just seem to be in a mental state where I'm able to just do a lot more. So it comes very easy for me in prep, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. It's funny. I was actually listening to John Jewett say something very similar. So must be one of those things for, I guess, the elite that get to be a little bit more productive. I feel like when a lot of the guys that I sort of deal with, and even myself when I diet, I go the opposite, lack of energy. So it's like probably not less productive, but I feel like it'd be less productive because of the lack of energy, I guess.
Yeah. I think for me, off season's harder than prep. Yeah, so when I'm in prep, it's like, it's easy. So I'm just like, right, we're getting after it. I think when you really push the envelope in off season, that is, for me, it's definitely much harder. Yep. So yeah, I find it pretty easy.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. I just wanted to touch on, I guess, a couple of things about yourself, and also, I guess, a bit of your backstory and the change that you took, I guess, coming into your pro card, getting your pro card, and I guess the changes you've made since you got your pro card, right? And the lifestyle changes I feel like you've made that's really had this big positive impact on, you know, yourself and your ability to, I guess, work and produce, you know, great results with clients and produce great results with yourself.
So it's more of a progressive process. Like, I've always been super consistent, super dedicated. But there's levels to the game. And I always say this to my clients, you develop into the person that you want to be over time. I honestly believe that that's what happens. And I always aspired to be a certain way. And it's just the amount of time that it has took me to be the person that I want to be. And I feel like I can honestly say, hand on heart, probably 6 weeks out from a show last year, I started to really develop into the person that I want to be, with the amount of work that I was able to do and the commitment and discipline I could carry over onto my day-to-day work. Yeah. And I think that is the biggest missing link to people. It's like everyone wants to do all these fancy things and everyone wants to really dig into the intricate, science and intricate bits that they are important, yes, but people often overlook what simple discipline and keeping a good structure and routine can do for you as an athlete, as a coach, as a business person. And I think that is the most single biggest overlooked thing you can see in people. It's, many people focus on all these variables, but the biggest thing they dismiss is simple things like keeping a schedule, keeping a routine, keeping a rigid sleep schedule as well. So I don't just mean the schedule of your work. I mean a schedule of your life in general. And that is, I believe, honestly, something that has let me down in past is keeping a good structure and routine. I think that is an ultimate game changer to your productivity as an athlete and as a coach, as a businessman. Anything you do in life will ultimately lead to success if you can really nail down your structure and routine and how you conduct yourself, more importantly, as well. And I honestly believe that over time, the biggest change has really been me developing into the person that I want to be. And I've always been the person that always found ways to be better. So if I see something that's going to allow me to progress, allow me to find a better way so I can grow more as a person, as an athlete, as a coach, I will do that. So I would never be the person that would just stick to one approach and accept it as, that's the best way to go. This is why, I have a lot of consultations with a lot of different people across the world, and for me, although I might not agree with what certain individuals do on a whole, I believe that you can take something positive and take something that will only improve your skill set as a coach, as an athlete from each person. So that's pretty much my approach. It's like, I think so many people are stuck into the way of just, this is what we do and this is how we're going to do it. And I think that sometimes holds them back because to me, it seems like there's a lot of people that have got different camps, right? These guys do this, these guys do that. Yep. To me, that's just not the way it works, because if you're working with a large client base, if you want to literally give them the same shit, which majority of coaches do, unfortunately, they coach the same way across the board. How are you expect to get the same results with 50 different individuals if your approach is the same across the board? It's just not going to happen. So to me, it's more of a case where I realize, right, if I truly want to excel as an athlete and as a coach, I need to reel up my game and I need to be able to work with an individual and tailor things down to an individual. And that is including myself, so I think things constantly evolve. And I think people, sometimes are so comfortable within their own environment and comfortable within their own approach. They're not willing to see that sometimes something might be better and sometimes they can improve themselves. And I think for me, I like to definitely take ownership of my own actions, ownership of my own mistakes, and ownership as a person in a way where I know what I need to do to be where I want to be. And that is the real biggest game changer for me, is realizing, in this sport, we'll never ever stop learning and things can always be better. And that's really the case with me. It's just being better and really pushing things forward from that perspective. And I think the results for myself and my client base have shown that as well.
Yep. So what would be your biggest change, I guess, from winning your pro card, we'll say, to sort of the last show that you did? Because it was the Arnold's that you'd done in the UK, right?
Yeah.
What had changed from like a mental perspective? What had shifted for you to say, okay, this is what needs to be done? Like, what is it that needed to be done, I guess?
I'm just capable of a lot more. The approach hasn't changed all that much. It's just improvement upon that approach. So my training's a lot better. That's the biggest, I think, game changer really, is what I can do now within a set is probably what I could do in 3 sets last year or year before. And it's more the side of execution as well. and intent, and actually understanding of management of my training volume, understanding of exercise selection a lot more and a lot deeper, and understanding my own mechanics and understanding the basic training principles, but with a lot more detail as well.
So were you looking after your own prep leading into the Arnold, or did you have someone guiding you through that?
Yeah, so I worked with Steph during off season, but pretty much the prep, I was like, this isn't really working out for me. So I'm going to kind of take my own approach, because even the off season, to be honest, mate, it was like, it got to the point where a few months in, it was just as if I was just staying accountable to him, but I don't need that. At the end of the day, if I'm working with a coach, it needs to be more of a partnership, not just send me pictures and be like, okay. And then me basically saying, this is what I'm doing, mate. And that's it. And that's pretty much where we got to. So I was like, there's not really much point in doing this, because I'm not at a level where I need to be accountable to someone. So I was like, yeah. And it got to a point where a couple of things that he suggested, I just didn't agree with. It's not something that I would do as a coach. So I was like, yeah, it's time to part ways. It's time to kind of take over the reins, so to speak.
No worries. And then you moved on to Luke from No Switch.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
that's right.
What about Luke, I guess, drew you into his style of, I guess, coaching and, that partnership that you formed with him?
So with Luke, I made it pretty clear that, I'm not really willing to let someone fully take the reins. It's still basically a partnership, which is that's always what I say on all my posts. And when I speak about coaching, it's a partnership. It's not a dictatorship. So with me, when working with Luke, it's more so not just Luke basically saying, do this, do that. It's basically coming to a mutual ground and saying, right, this is what I've got planned, Luke. What's your thoughts? Or there's my diet changes. Let me know what you think, blah, blah, blah. And with the training side of things as well, like Luke constructed my programming, but I sent him over exactly what movements I really like and enjoy. So the programming is based off the movements that I know work well and I know I can enjoy. Whereas in past, when I programmed from certain people, it was, I'd break it down. I'd be like, this is pretty poor. Yeah. So for me, again, like I always say this, if you want to be an excellent coach, you need to experience excellent coaching. So for me, like I've always worked with mentors, I've always worked with coaches in various ways. If you want to progress, you're always going to learn, no matter how good you think you are on no matter how much you think you know. Like I said, you can always learn something from someone. Like I would say this, I always learn something from each client as well. Whether they're a good client or a bad client, it's always a lesson. So the more people I work with, the better I get. And it's the same with working with a coach. When you work with certain individuals, you will grow, you'll develop. So what drew me mostly to Luke is he's got a great passion for coaching. So that's exactly what I want in a coach. That's exactly what I am like. And that's exactly what I expect from an individual that does what I do. And in past, I don't think I've ever had that, apart from like Jordan. Obviously, Jordan's one of my best friends, and I worked with Jordan a couple of years ago. And Jordan's got to a point now where he's just extremely busy with. Of course, yeah, he doesn't take clients so Jordan at all. Jordan doesn't actually officially do coaching anymore, which is understandable. But with coaching, I think that the biggest important thing as well is you need someone that really cares and gives a shit. There's a lot of good coaches out there, but unfortunately, they only care about a small number of people they work with, and I think that's quite wrong. Because you'll see all these results, all these people they're posting about, but what we don't see is 90% of the client base probably just getting, generic replies and generic plans and not really that much attention to, because in reality, they're probably working with 200 plus people. That's not really what I'm looking for in a coach. I'm looking for more so in a coach, someone that's going to care about my process just as much as I do myself. And that's been my biggest flaw as a coach, is I get emotionally invested way too much. And what it's like when you're emotionally invested in something, sometimes it hurts. So that's one thing I really work on. But I know that Luke is just as invested into my process as I am. And with Luke, it's like I said, it's more of a partnership, not a dictatorship, where he basically says, there you go, this is what we're going to do. And 9 times out of 10, when we speak as well, our thought process aligns with everything that we do. So it's like, I'll suggest something or he'll suggest something and we'll both be like, yeah, we're on board. Let's go. That's what I want.
Yeah, no, it's completely fair. And I completely agree. It's interesting the way that you explain that coaching is a partnership. It's not a dictatorship, right? It's, you may need to guide a little bit more like newer people that are new to this sort of thing, where it's maybe more dictatorship than it is a partnership for a period of time to help them understand. And then once they get that experience, it's like, okay, like you ask them for their input almost.
Yeah. The thing is though, if you explain the process to them and they have understanding of what we do, it's never really dictatorship, because once you explain it to them, they're like, oh, actually, okay. Yes.
Yeah, I'm on board with it. I understand.
Straight away, they're going to be like, right, let's do this, so to speak. Sure. So, and that's something I've had to do a lot in past. But another thing that needs to be outlined as well is you have to accept that you're not going to be able to work with everyone. And some people you're just not going to be able to gel with. Mm-hmm. And that's something I see more often now, where I can only work with certain individuals where, I don't tolerate certain things and I don't really have the patience that I used to have for certain things. So I've accepted now I can only work with a certain client base. And I always hold my hand up. This is why I'm not one of the coaches that just, takes on everyone in the 1 Yeah, for sure. And just says they don't, but really they do. So,
advertises a couple of clients, but has, 200 people that they might be trying to sort of cookie cut, I guess, with programming and, nutritional advice. So I understand. Wanted to move into, I guess, your 5 pillars that you put up a YouTube video about. So for those that are listening, definitely jump on YouTube and follow Kuba, because some of the best content you'll see for the lifestyle of bodybuilding and training. It's actually quite motivating to watch one of your training videos before you hit the gym. It's quite fun, instead of watching the old school videos like, watching Arnie and Dorian and all that. It's kind of the new wave coming through. So it's always fun to watch a leg session from yourself. The gym you train at, is that your gym that you own, or is it one that you just train at?
No, that's my gym, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cool gym. I'm keen to come over and jump in. It's just I'm a bit of an equipment fiend. So it's like all the equipment that you do have is kind of like, that's what I would have if I owned the gym. So watching your videos, I'm like, yes.
I've just ordered another 10 new pieces as well.
Yeah, that'd be right. just rub it in. So yeah, your 5 pillars, I guess if you wanted to break into that a little bit more and, what it is and what they mean to you, I guess.
They mean everything to me, really. That's pretty much what I stand by and what I live by. So to me, I've got certain principles that I abide by and certain principles that I live by, really. And when I was filming the other day with Carl, obviously one of my videographers, and I was like, right, this is what I'm going to do today, because I feel like a lot of people are going to benefit from them. And these 5 pillars, for anyone that wants to look up, you can look up. It's simple 5 pillars that I stand by that I believe really contribute to success. And they're really simple. It's nothing fancy. It's the basic stuff that, again, like I mentioned, is overlooked. And I feel like since being able to master these 5 pillars, my success has really been greater. And again, ultimately, it's taking ownership in my own actions and putting things to work. Anyone can talk a good game, but actually getting stuck in and putting the work in is a different story. And more importantly, being consistent with your work. That's the biggest game changer that myself and my partner can attest to. She was a professional diver. She was a professional athlete from, age of 3. Mm-hmm. So she knows what it's like to be an athlete. She knows what it takes to compete at elite level. And this kind of attitude and the work ethic has carried over into all avenues of our life. So if you want to be elite at something, it unfortunately takes elite level of commitment. So the pillars that I break down is pretty much what we do and how we do things on a daily basis. And it's very simple, but we've just gotten very good at just repeating the process and being good at the basics, which obviously I outlined there.
Yeah. I guess, did you want to quickly just touch on what those pillars are, and then we run through them and see what?
Let me just get it up in the order. That's all right. Because I know you did do the YouTube clip, so I guess we'll put them in order, make sure that they're all right. Yeah, I don't want to get it bottled up. There we go.
I recently
Cool. Right. So my 5 pillars. It was like 5 steps to success in bodybuilding and life, really. Yeah. Well, the first main one is the daily consistency daily discipline and adherence. Obviously, consistency and discipline will ultimately lead to adherence. And I always say this, the best plan that you can ever work with is the one you can adhere to. And again, I always say this, there's levels to this, and there's a levels of adherence that you need to achieve the result that you want as well. So if you want to be elite level athlete, the levels of adherence and discipline need to be of elite level. If you've got certain goals set, your actions have to reflect your goals, and so does your discipline and, everything else around it. So the main one really that dictates everything, I believe, is your daily discipline to be able to do what we do. Whether it's business, whether it's bodybuilding, whatever you put your mind to, you have to be disciplined in pursuit of that. And I think that is the biggest common trait amongst successful people, is the discipline and the routine that they do have. The second one is definitely resilience and mental fortitude. Mm-hmm. If I wasn't resilient with the obstacles that I have had thrown at me in my life, if I wasn't resilient, I wouldn't be sat here in front of you talking to you right now, because you would have never heard of me. You would have never known who I was, and I won't be in the position that I am right now. So I think people, when they don't achieve the result they want to, they often break because they don't have the resilience to push past failures. So I think the biggest thing for me is pushing past failures many, many times and being resilient to anything that is thrown at you in life. Whether it's something negative or whether it's an event that happens in your life, you have to be resilient and push past in the goals that you have set out. So resilience is definitely a big one. A third one, something we've already discussed, is self-development and coaching. Like I said, I'm a big advocate of that. There is people out there at the moment. There's a bit of culture that I see in England, because obviously I said last year I wanted to, coach myself and do that. But I did it to prove a point that I could do that with myself and be able to lead so many clients to the show. So it was more of a selfish ego thing that I wanted to do, really. Yeah. I'll admit that, it was because I wanted to prove to myself what I'm capable of. And I want to prove to myself that I can handle a lot, and I can handle a lot under a lot of pressure as well.
Yes. Yep, that's fair.
So for me, self-development and coaching, I think these are definitely big. On a daily basis, I make sure that I spend at least an hour, whether it's a podcast, whether it's anything informative that's going to add tools to my toolbox and improve my craft as a coach or an athlete. I make sure I do that. But the biggest thing I have to outline is that's just what I enjoy. It is not a chore for me to do this. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, say it's a grind, grinding and doing all that. It's like, if you don't enjoy it, this isn't for you, because to truly be great at this, you have to truly enjoy it.
Yep,
and
completely agree.
Again, for me, I do get a lot of joy out of this. Fourth one, commitment. Again, you see a lot of clients that probably start with you and they're like, I want to be a pro, Kuba. I'm like, okay, are you willing to be committed for the next 5 years of your life on a daily basis? And I don't mean a couple of months. Anyone can be committed for a couple of months. Are you willing to be committed for the next 5 years of your life on a daily basis to reach that level?
It's a big one.
They say they might be, but we get 6 months in, 12 months in, that changes, and then I explain, like, look, I'm in the position I'm in right now because I have been committed on a daily basis since the age of 16. Yeah. And that hasn't changed. If anything, it's grew stronger and it's gotten better.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
Fifth one is definitely a big one, is reflection and gratitude. So, you've got to be thankful for where you are, but at the same time, you have to have the balls to reflect upon yourself and be able to be honest with yourself as to what it is you can do to be better. So if we really sit down and think about our own actions, our own ways of what we do, there's not that many people in the world that could honestly, hand on heart, say and put their hand up and say, yeah, there's nothing I can do to be better. There's always something you can do. There's always something you can do to be better across the board in every single way.
And that's completely and utterly fair. Do you go to anybody like your partner, for example, and ask, her opinion on what you could do better? Or is it something that you do more as a self-reflection type thing? Like, people that you trust, would you go to?
Probably a self-reflection of my own actions. And my business partner, Charlie, does a little bit of mentoring with me as well.
Yep.
And he can always highlight after our meetings as to what, I could do really to be better as an athlete and as a coach and as a businessman as well.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And with the like the upskilling stuff, so listening to podcasts and that sort of stuff, are there people that you go to on a more regular basis where you learn from or you try to learn from, or is it sort of just, I guess, whatever comes out, you sort of go for?
Yes, there's a lot of people. I think the main one is obviously Jordan. Jordan's always been someone that I speak to Jordan every day.
Yep.
And I think many people underestimate how much Jordan actually knows. John Jewett, again, I've had a lot of consultations with John. Joe, someone I reached out to quite often, with especially with the ped side of things, which has been great. Scott Stevenson, someone that I believe is one of the smartest minds this world has.
Yeah, agreed.
It literally has, like, when it comes to really picking things up, anyone listens to this, if you read Scott's book and listened to at least probably 10 of his podcasts and took notes and actually dug deep into it, I'll tell you that now, you would probably be, a very, very smart individual when it comes to this game. So, these are the people that I always reach out to. And again, I've got people in every field that I do kind of reach out to. So when it comes to bodybuilding, that's kind of my people that I reach out to. Obviously, one of my best friends as well. He's one of the best natural athletes in the world, AJ Morris. He's someone that, and I can always lean on. He's very, very smart. And I believe a lot of people undervalue how smart he actually is. He's very passionate about this as well. And I think passion goes hand in hand with just being good at this shit. If you love something, truly do, then you are going to be great at it. As simple as that. It's inevitable. And I think, again, these are the people that I can always lean on and see, the advice from, really. I think there's not that many other people in the world that I would really trust, especially with things that I put out. Even the world-renowned coaches that we've got right now that I put podcasts out and they're speaking about certain subjects, and I'm listening to it and I'm cringing. So, it's one of the things. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And I'd be the first one to hold my hand up and say, look, if I didn't have if I had a dogmatic approach like they do, I would probably be still stuck in that era doing this dumb stuff that they are doing. It's as simple as that. But I think it's more so having the confidence and belief that, there are better ways and you can always learn something from other people as well, and not being stuck in your own kind of way. That's the key to me. So, yeah, definitely. That's kind of my circle, my people that I always go to. But the main one really being Scott. It's every time I speak to Scott, it's almost like it blows my mind.
Yeah,
it blows my mind.
He does that a lot.
He's anything I could say to Scott, right? He would be able to break it down more than anyone I know, because he would literally spend days digging into the research behind it, every study known to man. And no disrespect to anyone, but when it comes to interpreting studies, I don't think there's anyone better than Scott Stevenson.
Yeah, completely agree.
It's as simple as that. So, if I ever have any questions, generally it's always either Scott or John that I speak to, because John, again, very smart. And he can really break down studies extremely well. And some of the approaches that I have took with assistant side of things, with female coaching as well, it's something that I put through to John in a consultation. And he was like, yeah, look, this is kind of what you should be doing anyway. And that's good to go. So, it's definitely a confidence boost when I'm having a consultation with someone as well. And they're like, look, this is pretty much on point of what you need to be doing, so to speak. So, but then again, I'm not a guy that would ever be afraid of someone saying, look, this is not the right thing to do.
Well,
I would
say you're going there, right?
I'm always the first person to always admit this and speak about this is, I'm always learning from my mistakes, and I've made every mistake known to man with myself, especially within the process. So, when you've made all these mistakes and you've learned from them, that's the most important thing. You don't tend to make these mistakes with other people. And I think that is where my experience is pretty good.
Yeah, no, look, completely agree with everything you said. I've been lucky enough to have Dr. Scott Stevenson on the podcast. So Same thing. Anything I run via him, it's just mind blowing. It's just, the amount of knowledge he also has, I think, on hand, just in his brain is next level. Just he doesn't have to look at some things, and you're just like, how did you reel that off? Like his estrogen pathway stuff is phenomenal. So, completely agree. I guess my question to you then is, what does a normal day look like for yourself? So from like getting up to sort of, going through the day to training to, getting down for sleep, like how do we employ these pillars on a day-to-day basis? Like what is it that you're doing to have this in place?
Consistent bedtime, consistent wake up time. Every single morning, my alarm, whether it's weekend or I don't care when it is, my alarm is set at 27 minutes past 4. I don't know why it's 27 minutes past, but that's just my time. Yep. And I kid you not, I'm not, I'll just show this just so you know that I'm not talking shit. But it actually is actually, wait. There we go. Wait.
There you go. 427. Yeah, I do like all the other ones after it as well.
Yeah. Daily alarm, and they don't really get snoozed either. I'm pretty much every morning I wake up and I tend to really jump out of bed, and I make sure I make a point of doing that. When I'm awake, I'm awake. I'm not slouching about. I'm not checking my phone. So I wake up. First thing I do, it's literally I get my phone, get downstairs, get my work phone. Whilst I hydrate, I pretty much have a 30 minutes of like a power 30 minutes where I really get stuck into some emails, any replies that I need to go through. Mm-hmm. I've got Lumi light on at the same time, nice and bright. And at that time, I tend to not be dressed either. So, that's before I get dressed. Yeah. So pretty much power 30 minutes of power, power stuff to get it out whilst I hydrate. And generally within the first hour, I'll generally have a litre to a litre and a half of fluid. Mm-hmm. So 30 minutes of that, then that will be followed by 20 minutes of my steps. Mm-hmm. Generally, I aim to get like 3,000 steps in first thing in the morning. Yeah. And whilst I'm doing that as well, whilst I'm stepping, that's still client replies from the night before. Any international clients as well, to make sure they get replied to.
Yes.
Straight after that, I normally have my coffee and then I sit down to do my check-ins. Mm-hmm. So the first hour and a half is my check-ins. That will be followed by like a 15 minutes break whilst I get my breakfast ready. Meal one, followed by at least another hour and a half to check-ins. After the meal one as well, I normally do a 10-minute walk as well with the dog or on the treadmill, depending on what weather's like and depending on what the dog's mood's like.
Fair enough.
Well, everything's regimented and every single day pretty much looks the same. So after that, another pretty much an hour and a half for work before meal two. Mm-hmm. I have meal two. And then after meal two, it'll pretty much be an hour, listen to a podcast whilst I prepare the next meals, prepare pre-workouts, intra-workouts, etc. Mm-hmm. And then either that, well, if I'm preparing it, then I'll be listening to a podcast. If not, if I'm doing a course or anything like that, then I'll be sat down and Meg will be preparing that really. After that, again, by that time, generally check-ins are always completed, as normally it takes me around 4 hours to complete the check-ins. So by time it's pre-workout meal time, work will have completed. So pre-workout meal normally goes down at 11:30. And then pretty much from that time, it's athlete mode. From 11:30, I'll eat my pre-workout meal, have my either pre-workout, my coffee. Then I'll have some downtime, chilling, watch something either on YouTube or catch up on anything I need to catch up on really. Before I train. That hour before I train, after my pre-workout meal, always tends to be spent, with me focusing on training. And what I found as well within my routine is mentally, I don't have the same capacity for my work as I do around that time. So the reason why I train at that time is because that is the best time when I can perform physically. Yeah. The reason why I do my work so early in the day, and the reason why I wake up so early is because that is when I know I can mentally perform the best.
Totally fair enough.
I'm not willing to perform any work or do any client work for my clients when I know my brain function isn't there. So all these coaches, they like to wear, a badge of honor saying they're doing check-ins at stupid o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock at night. It's like, I used to do that and my quality of work was poor. Mm-hmm. I'm not willing to do that anymore. What I am willing to do though, is I'm willing to get in bed at pretty much, I can show you even my order readings. My bedtime is never ever later than 8:15. So my bedtime ranges from 7:30 to 8:15. And again, this isn't me saying this is what you should do. This is me saying this is my most optimal routine to get the best quality of sleep and have the best mental capacity and physical performance as well.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair.
Post-training, if I've got any replies that I need to do, I normally finish training 3:30. Drive back home, normally a podcast, and either a podcast or client calls. Generally, when I'm driving, I don't like to waste time. So if I'm driving, there's always going to be a podcast on, or I will be on a call to someone, whatever it is. So I don't like to just have dead time, so to speak. Post-workout meal always goes in at 4:15, 4:15, 4:15 to 4:30, depending on traffic from getting back from the gym.
Yep.
And then at least an hour will be spent either education or any more work or any replies that I have to do. But that work would never, ever be check-ins.
Yes. Sir.
My clients always get the check-ins in before a certain time every single day. Yes. I would never, ever leave a check-in towards that time because I know my mental capacity is not there to break down the information the way I need to.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
The work at that time would be simpler replies. It wouldn't be anything that would be mentally taxing for me because I know that I wouldn't be able to perform the way I need to for my clients. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
After that, it would be down around 5:30 to 6 o'clock, meal of 5. And then from 6 o'clock onwards, that's my downtime. That is me pretty much doing nothing and chilling with my feet up. Yeah. That is pretty much me time and make time. That is it. And then 7:30, 8 o'clock, latest 8:15 is always bedtime.
Yeah. And I guess
that is on repeat, every single day. Rest days where I don't have that training window, that is pretty much work meetings or anything that I need to book in, anything that I need to catch up on, or anything that I need to book in that's going to require that time. That is that allocated time for that.
Yeah. And I guess that's when you have your treatments and your sauna and all that sort of stuff as well.
Every rest day, mate. Every rest day. That's the kind of routine. Yeah. I've got a sauna at home, actually. So
yeah, I noticed. I've been looking for one to buy for my garage, to be honest. So it's a similar process. Yeah, I could imagine.
Canadian spa company.
Yep. Oh, I'd have to check if they're here in Australia. They're probably.
Mate, I'm pretty sure they'll probably be able to do a shipment.
So, I guess with that downtime, what is it that you like to do in your downtime? I guess at the end of the day, is it watch some TV? Is it listen to music? Is it read a book? Like, does it change?
It varies, mate. Sometimes it'd be literally even me and Meg listening to a podcast even at times. Yeah. So it would either sometimes watch a film, but even since prep, I don't have the mental capacity to sit there for longer than 30 minutes and focus on one thing.
Okay.
So if it's a good podcast, I can. But like at the moment, I still can't really watch films.
Yep.
I just get 40 minutes in, mate, and I'm like, I need to do something. So, but I think that'll get better as I get deeper into the off season. It's just my brain's still in like overflow mode from prep. So that should get better. But downtime is generally anything that Meg wants to do, just to chill. And I think that's equally as important as putting the work in. You need to make sure you have that buffer for chilling every single day, and that is the biggest thing that I used to not do. I used to just work into the night. And I think that was pretty much the worst thing I could have done, because with me having that break now in the evenings, I wake up and I look forward to getting my work done. Because I'm looking forward to it and I'm mentally fresh, what I can do within the first 4 or 5 hours of my day when I'm working is what I could previously do in 10 hours.
Yeah.
So the difference is just vast. And I think I attribute that down to pinpointing exactly when I know I can mentally function properly and my performance mentally is the best, which is obviously that time zone. And I think having that downtime as well and time away from work, away from a laptop and away from a work phone, I think that's crucial, because pretty much by the time it hits, 5:30, my work phone gets put away and I don't touch it. I don't look at it.
Yeah, I can understand.
And it's the same. It's the same on rest day. On rest day, I try and do that even earlier. I try and get everything completed by like 3 p.m. and then it doesn't get touched. Like my clients know if it's an emergency, they've got my private phone number. But let's face it, if someone messages you on a given day after 3, 4 p.m., is it going to be that urgent? They're going to need a reply that same day? Probably not. Yeah. So, it's definitely something else. And it'd be different if someone's on prep, obviously. But in off season, I think, that's been the biggest game changer for me. And what I've seen is just my feedback, the way I can break down the information and the way I can relay information has improved significantly since I've been able to do that. So that's definitely something I think many people undervalue and overlook.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it'll be refreshing for a lot of coaches, I think, listening to this podcast, to hear that from someone as high level as yourself, because I know a lot of coaches, including myself, sometimes do feel almost guilty for not replying to a client, even though we know that it's not urgent, it's not life-threatening. Like if it was, they wouldn't be calling you. Like, you know what I mean? It'd be, it's just, it feels good.
I used to literally have to reply to every client before bed. So I would.
That's what I do. I'm the same.
I would be working into my bedtime, but the fact of the matter is, I would be waking up mentally fatigued from being that way.
Yes.
So you get to a point where when you get busy, your brain function needs to be on point. You cannot burn out. So you need that time where you differentiate, right, this is my work time, this is my chill time.
Yes.
And then you can switch it on so much better. Because if you're constantly switched on and you're constantly trying to work, you don't get that boost when you switch off and switch on.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big consideration, I think. Because again, the emotional attachment to your job and emotional attachment to coaching, because it's so high, you feel guilty and you almost feel like something's wrong. And that's the way I pretty much felt for the first 2 months of doing that. But then once I've seen the benefits of my work and how much better my service has got, I think that's been the biggest game changer, really.
Yeah, no, look, it's completely fair. And it's definitely something I know a lot of coaches don't do and should be doing, to look after yourself first, and you can have a better quality of service for your clients, as you just said.
Yeah. The thing is, there's a big difference as well. It's like I started coaching when I was 18. So, I've been doing it nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
My first client actually competed when I was 17 or 18. Yeah. So when you've done it for a couple of years, you can do that. But when you've done it for 10 years and you work with a certain amount of clientele and you work with certain individuals that do require that mental focus, that is when you kind of have to change your ways. Otherwise, you just end up driving yourself to the floor. And that's pretty much where I was. I was in a spot where I was like, I wasn't happy. I was constantly tired. And it was more so mental fatigue. And I felt like my work started to suffer. And that is when I actually spoke to Charlie, who's obviously my business partner, is my mentor as well. He's got one of the most successful financial investment companies in England.
Yep.
So he's on another level of busy.
Yeah, right.
And, people think they're busy, and there's Charlie where he's got 2 PAs, he's got a driver because whilst he's can't drive working, basically.
Yeah.
Because he's working that much.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So when someone like this says to you, like, look, you need to allocate your time for work, otherwise your work's going to suffer. If someone as busy as that says that's what you've got to do in order to develop, progress, and be better, trust me, you listen, because he knows a thing or two. And when it comes to experience in business, although it's a different field of business, the principles still remain the same.
Yes.
So when someone like that says, this is what you've got to do in order for you to progress and be better and give a better service and bring more value, trust me, you keep your ears to the floor and you listen and you do as you're told.
That's completely fair enough, my friend. I guess a question to round off this podcast that I tend to ask: 3 Instagram accounts that you follow that better your day-to-day life. So when you do get the chance to jump on Instagram and have a scroll, whether it be funny, whether it be educational, what is it? Who is it that you follow, and give them a shout out?
Oosh.
Yeah. Oosh. This gets everybody. I don't know why, because we're all on Instagram.
Oosh.
Just 3 accounts. 3 accounts.
3 accounts, yeah?
3 accounts. Go on, have a look. Go on.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, it stumps everybody. Every guest I've had on this podcast.
Do you know why it does, though? Because it literally could be like 5 different accounts.
Yeah.
I think definitely AJ's got to be one. AJ, you've got to give man an AJ.
It's a fair call. It's a very good account to follow.
Yeah, you've got to give AJ a good shout. Oh God. Right, AJ. There's definitely a couple more that could be good. Jesus. I need to think of this one, mate, because this is probably the hardest question I've asked on the podcast.
I was going to say the toughest question you've had.
It actually is, mate. Oh. Right. Oh, mate. It definitely is the hardest one. AJ, James Hollinshead, because
he's very good to follow.
Just the way James is and the commitment, he's like the modern day Dorian Yates.
Yeah, I love his philosophy. His philosophy and his mind.
I love James as a person as well. He's, when you speak of ultimate commitment, you think of James.
Yeah.
Oh.
It is amazing how this stumps everybody.
It really does. It really does.
Because you think about it, how much we're on Instagram all the time, and just three accounts.
I've actually got a limit on my phone, an hour a day.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I'm never on it longer than an hour, which isn't actually that much when you think about it. It's literally you make a couple of posts, you scroll a couple of times, and that's
it. Yeah, exactly right, and you're done. Yeah.
Right. So we've got AJ, we've got James. Oh. Do you know what? I really like Joe Bennett.
Yep. Hypertrophy
Joe
coach.
Bennett brings a lot of value as well.
Yep, I do.
Because
I like him. It's
a great mixture of science with experience.
Yes.
He's the one that always brings things in the middle.
Yeah, that's fair. I took pretty good.
I've actually got Joe on notifications, so that's exactly what I thought of Joe.
Perfect.
I was thinking, right, whoever got on notification, I've got James, I've got AJ, and I've got Joe. So
perfect.
Right.
Perfect. That's all we needed. Those three. For the listeners, where can they find you?
Either Instagram or YouTube. Just type in my name. I think the first name will do. If you type in Kuba, it will definitely come up because there's not many Kubas about that do what I do. So, yeah.
And your YouTube channel?
Same again. Type in Kuba.
Name.
Yeah.
Nice and easy.
My YouTube channel is literally the same as my Instagram. So it's Kuba_my surname. But I'm actually getting Saturday. So next Saturday.
Yep.
So my surname is actually going to be changed to Kuba Cielen. So we're having like the double barrel, whatever you call it.
Perfect. Well, congratulations for that. I guess we will leave it there, good sir. So thank you for jumping on and having a chat and sharing some wisdom with the listeners. I definitely know a lot of the coaches will get something out of that and probably some more reassurance in that it's okay to turn your phone off and not talk to clients after a certain time. So thanks to the listeners, as always, for jumping on.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that the biggest person that I need to say thank you for this is definitely Charlie and AJ, believe it or not. AJ was like, right, you're an athlete and a coach, so you need to act like one. End of the day, imagine training all the time and not taking any rest. Yeah. It's the same principle of coaching.
Same principle, yeah.
And AJ is one of the best coaches in the industry. He really is. And legit, he's one of the best. So again, when AJ speaks, you listen because he does bring a lot of value with anything that he really says. So definitely a big up and a shout out to my man.
No worries. Thanks for jumping on, my friend, and I'm sure we'll have you back soon.
Anytime, man. Thank you and take care.
Thank you.